The ad campaign behind Star Wars Episode 1 The Phantom Menace was unlike anything that had happened before, and honestly, I don't think it's really been rivaled since then either. I mean, the movie was everywhere, but today I want to talk about one specific part of the marketing, and that's how Star Wars Episode 1 was wrapped into fast food. You see, normally what happens when a movie is coming out and it wants to get promotion through fast food is it will be featured at one restaurant. And usually it's just in the kids' meals, but though sometimes there will be adult meals that tie into it too. A good example of that is the Minecraft meal and everything that's going on with that right now at McDonald's. But the Phantom Menace took it to an entirely different level, being featured at not just one restaurant, but actually three. Those restaurants being KFC, Taco Bell, and Pizza Hut. And they definitely did not do just the bare minimum when it came to how they promoted the movies at those restaurants, and I want to get into all of that today. So as we get started, don't forget to hit that subscribe button if you like to see content like this. And so let's just go ahead and jump into the fast food promotions tied to Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace. Before we get into what was actually happening at the restaurants themselves, let's talk about the ad campaign that went along with this promotion. Instead of just having ads that mentioned that the movie was going to be featured at these restaurants, instead what they did is they had a story that tied the movie into the mascots of these restaurants. This story was told over multiple ads, and the story went like this. We start off hearing that the planet of Naboo needs help, and who is going to answer that call? None other than a statue of Colonel Sanders that magically comes to life. So he drives off in his convertible to pick up some help, and he ends up finding Alexis, the Pizza Hut girl, played by actress Kim Murphy, and Gidget, the Taco Bell Chihuahua, played by Carlos Alazraqui. Once they put their little team together, they end up on the planet of Naboo, where they fight a bunch of droids, and of course, promote the movie and their fast food brands. Overall, I think these ads are pretty fun and weird, and I really like it when companies do things like this, take risks on telling these kind of out-of-the-box stories.
Hey, look what I found.
So as we take a step away from the ads and into the actual restaurants, it's important to know that there was some theming that was going on with each of the individual restaurants. It wasn't that each restaurant had the exact same things going on. In fact, each one of the restaurants would be tied with one of the planets that would be heavily featured in the movie. The first of those would be KFC, which tied into Naboo, which I had mentioned earlier, which if you haven't seen Star Wars Episode 1 before or in a while, it's where a lot of the action happens. It's the planet that's being threatened. It's where the big droid battles happen. It's where the Gungans like Jar Jar live. So that's what you would kind of see at KFC, both with the tie-ins that we'll mention, but also with some of the decorations and things like that. Taco Bell would be tied in with Tatooine, the desert planet. Pretty fitting in my opinion. Here is where you would have like the pod race. This is where you'd be introduced to Anakin, and you would get other characters like Sebulba and Watto tied in here too. Darth Maul would also get lumped in here. He does have a fight with Qui-Gon on this planet, so that does make sense. And then Pizza Hut would have the final planet, which was Coruscant. Now, in all honesty, I think that they kind of got the raw deal when it comes to this. Coruscant is where, as a kid, I would say the boring parts of the movie happen. This is where the Jedi Council would be and where they would talk to Anakin and see if he was going to get trained. This is also where all of the Galactic Senate stuff happens, which is pretty cool when it comes to the imagery of it, but it's just mostly talking when it comes to the movie. So I feel bad for Pizza Hut just a little bit in there, especially because it's just like a planet that is one huge city. Now, because this promotion was happening back in 1999, things happened a little bit different back then than they do now. You would get video cassettes that would instruct you on ways to, deal with the promotion and how to decorate for it. And thankfully, some of those videos have found their way online. I think it's interesting that a lot of the characters are blacked out in these videos, and I think that's because they're really wanting to hide a lot of that from people. They don't want people to get spoiled or be able to leak that information. So a part of the promotion for the movie was a game that was played across all three restaurants that they called Defeat the Dark Side and Win. The way that the game would be played is that you would collect little tokens that would be collected in food and drink purchases at the different restaurants. You could win one of two ways while you were playing the game. First off, you could get a token that was an instant win token. This would just have, the little mascots from the restaurants on it and would list what type of a food you'd won on the back of the token. But food wasn't the only thing that you can win instantly during the promotion. In fact, there were a number of different prizes that were available to win instantly just by pulling one of these tokens. You could win a trip for two around the world, an iMac computer, a $10,000 shopping spree, a Darth Maul portable CD player, Star Wars inline skates, a THX sound system, a 1999 Lincoln Navigator, different Star Wars video games, a membership to the Star Wars fan club, including a subscription to the Star Wars Insider magazine. As a kid who liked Star Wars in the 1990s and early 2000s, this magazine was awesome. And then there was the big grand prize, which was the Star Wars Speeder hovercraft. But winning instantly wasn't the only way to claim a prize during this game. You could also collect these tokens to win cash prizes up to $1 million. The way that this worked is that there were tokens associated with different movie characters. And these characters were put into different sets, where if you collected the entire set, you could win the cash prize. If you collected the Rick Olay Daughtry Dopine, I don't know why this guy isn't New Gunray, and R2-D2, you could win a prize of $10,000. For collecting just the Yoda and Mace Windu tokens, you could get $1,000. Tying with the planet of Tatooine, if you got Sebulba, Anakin Skywalker, Shmi Skywalker, Watto, and C-3PO, you would collect one of the $1 million prizes. Tied into the planet Coruscant, if you collected Queen Amidala, Senator Palpatine, Obi-Wan Kenobi, Darth Sidious, and Chancellor Valorum, you could get the second $1 million prize. And then to claim the final $1 million prize tied in with the planet of Naboo, you would need to collect Darth Maul, Qui-Gon Jinn, the Battle Droid, Jar Jar Binks, and Boss Nass. Now, like with all contests like this, some of these things were very common and some of them were very rare. And so you would always get to the point where it's like, oh, I'm almost there. And that would get you to go in to buy more and more food, which of course is the goal of the company.
And fans are sure to rush to Pizza Hut to collect the entire set. The packaging is cool too.
I would agree. I think the boxes of these toys are actually pretty cool. I like that there was the mosaic you could put together if you collected all of them. Of course, that's a very tall order to go to all of the restaurants and collect all of the toys. They all had some pretty big promotions with 10 available at some of the restaurants. Now, at some of the restaurants, these toys would be tied in with a kid's meal, but at some of the restaurants, you would need to just purchase them separately. Let's go ahead and start off with KFC first, which, like I mentioned before, is tied in with the planet Naboo. You could get a little model of the planet itself. There were a couple different Jar Jar toys. One of them would squirt water. One of them would kind of like kick around in water. There was a Boss Nass toy. Captain Tarpals, who was a Gungan, fought alongside Jar Jar Binks in the Battle of Naboo. Criminally underrated character, in my opinion. Super cool. Should be featured in more Star Wars media. You could also get a droid starfighter and a Naboo starfighter, as well as two versions of the Gungan sub. One, which is just the toy itself, and then one where it's being eaten by one of the giant fish. And then finally, there was a toy where you had a little Padme that could go inside two different outfits for Queen Amidala. Next for toys, let's move into Taco Bell, which of course is themed to the planet of Tatooine. There were 9 different toys to collect at this restaurant. There was Anakin's Pod Racer, Sebulba's Pod Racer. For some reason, they decided to put Queen Amidala's Royal Starship, which would levitate, in here with the Tatooine. I know it does land on the planet and everything, but I would have thought it was going to be over in Naboo. There's another planet diorama, with this one, of course, being tied to Tatooine. There's a walking Sebulba, which you would wind up and let it just kind of walk across the table. Darth Maul has his Sith speeder. They have what they call joking Jar Jar. I think his tongue just would pop out. And then there was a hovering Watto. I want to point out one thing down here. I love that there is the limit 5 per purchase. They knew that one person would walk in and buy literally $500 worth of these if they could. And then Pizza Hut had those toys that were tying in with Coruscant. Like I mentioned before, it's kind of the boring planet. So the toys here, in my opinion at least, they're really stretching. You do get some cool things like another version of Queen Amidala's starship. There is Darth Maul's Sith Infiltrator, which is top tier Star Wars ship, by the way. You get, of course, the planet of Coruscant little display, but then the rest of them are just kind of like sitting around. There's a Yoda toy. There's an R2-D2. There's a squishy Jar Jar Binks. There's the Sith holoprojector, and then Lot Dodd's walking throne, which again, I don't know why they keep putting all these other guys in there and not Nute Gunray. He's the guy who rides in the walking throne, and that doesn't happen in Coruscant. That happens on Naboo. So another big thing that they were pushing at the restaurants were these cup toppers, which actually came with matching cups that had the rest of the character's body on it. Like everything else, the characters that were included at specific restaurants did tie into the planet that they were associated with. I'm going to lump these in with other premium items that you could purchase at these different restaurants just because I think they kind of go together. Let's go ahead and start off like always with KFC and the items that tied in with the planet of Naboo. Now the cup toppers that you could get here were Queen Amidala, Boss Nass, the leader of the Gungans, Captain Tarpals, and R2-D2. At KFC, you could also purchase these bucket toppers that would go on top of your buckets of fried chicken, which I think is awesome. If you still have one of those, and especially if you still use it, please let me know about it in the comments below. Next, we'll jump to Taco Bell and talk about the things that were tied in with Tatooine. Here, the cup toppers that you could get would be Anakin Skywalker, Darth Maul, Watto, and Sebulba. At Taco Bell, you could also buy 4 interconnecting posters that featured prominent scenes and characters from this part of the movie. Then finally, we move into Pizza Hut and the characters that tie into Coruscant. Here, of course, you do get Yoda and Mace Windu, characters very much featured on this planet. Newt Gunray is at least showing up as the Nemoidian here, so that's good. At least they got that right. But he is never on Coruscant in the movie, though he does really feed into the politics side of things, so I guess I'll excuse that. One thing I do have a hard time excusing is Jar Jar being featured here. He does go to Coruscant, and I do understand not wanting to have 3 different Gungans in the Naboo collection, but still, it just doesn't feel like he belongs. And though they're not really premium items, I do just really quick want to point out how cool I think the pizza boxes are here. As a kid, I would always hold on to stuff like this when really I should just throw it away. Stuff that has like oil stains and everything in it. It's like, why are you keeping this pizza box? I don't know. So that will be even harder for me to throw away 10 years from now. That's honestly what usually happened. Now, if you look at all of the work and everything that went into this promotion, obviously they were hoping to get a lot out of it too. And unfortunately, they didn't really get what they were looking for. Nobody really hit the numbers that they were wanting to hit. And this was the last time we would see this big promotion happen between Star Wars and these 3 restaurants. And we really honestly haven't seen anything like this since then. Now, we have seen a bunch of different Star Wars promotions at other fast food restaurants. McDonald's and Burger King have both had them in the past, and I've talked about those in past videos. You can go and check those out if you want. And though the promotion for Revenge of the Sith at Burger King was pretty big, with a toy set that tied into the entire saga, different watches you could buy, it just still was not quite this big. Will we ever see something like this again? I don't know, only time will tell, but I don't think it's very likely. And that wraps up our look at Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace, and its fast food promotions. Thank you for being here. Let me know in the comments below what you remember about this fast food promotion. I love to hear people's stories when it comes to that kind of thing. If you like this video, don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will see you very soon with another one. Until then, you take care.